Hello and welcome to the trade setup. In this video we are looking at Bitcoin. It is time for another update, and today we focus only within the smaller time frame here. And for context, from the all-time high we have been tracking this idea of an ABC structure where we could very easily see another extension form to lower prices within this wave C. Now, to be clear, this is not absolutely necessary. I could find a way to allow the wave C to already have a complete structure within this movement to the downside, but I wouldn't deem that necessary, and I would be very much still open to the idea of another low to form in a 50 to the downside, especially as long as we hold below the previous swing high within this wave 4 top. And I don't actually need the 50% retracement to be broken for my first indication that something more bullish may be going on, or at least a larger relief rally. But already the break above the 72k level around that area would signal a lot more strength to be going on than it is currently apparent within this chart, as we have really continuously formed lower highs and lower lows. Now, sure, there are some exceptions within different time frames, but from a larger perspective, this is rather suggestive of continuation to lower prices. Now, the thing is, in this structure, in this wave 5, we have been looking for a 5-wave pattern to occur within the idea of an ending diagonal. And within this structure, we provided in the previous video this area of resistance up to the 69k level, where if we were to break it in a sustained manner, we would have looked with high probabilities to also break the swing high of this wave 2, which is actually quite important. It would provide an early signal that we would likely break above the wave 4 top as well. Because while I could be looking for this to be a wave A within a large wave 3 to the downside, I cannot track that as a wave C within a large wave 1. And above this wave 2 swing high, this will no longer be a reliable structure to track in this wave 3 to the downside, and we would need to focus on other interpretations, yeah? Possibly something within the idea of a triangle in this wave 4, that is also something we could consider, but in the end, we haven't broken the area of resistance, not in a sustained manner anyway. Here within the 4-hour time frame, we only got a few weeks above it. And other than this, we have also been tracking what has actually been a high probability structure for continuation to higher prices within a potential 1-2 setup in this area. And as we have pushed into our last level of support, this has been a highly regarded area, and especially since within an even smaller time frame we identified here an initial 5-wave move to the upside, where we even provided an internal 1-2 setup to be tracked within this area. So this has been a high probability structure to continue to higher prices. But unfortunately, we didn't follow through its expectations of forming a 5-wave pattern. Now, this didn't necessarily need to build an impulse overall, but we would have at least liked to see a 5-wave pattern to be able to still follow up afterwards with a high probability area of support. Now, since this has failed, the structure has been damaged, the probabilities have shifted, and this is no longer a reliable trade setup. Not only that, we can no longer even track this idea of a wave 3 to form within this area, at least not reliably, because I am looking actually for this to still be an initial 5-wave move to the upside. So I would need to consider that this would be instead an ABC structure, since if I have a 5-wave pattern within a wave 1, I would expect within the wave 3 to form an impulse. That is a must, that is non-debatable, and I cannot track that reliably anymore. Yep, sure, if we form an initial 5-wave move to the upside within a larger wave 1, but even then, this would look a lot more like a wave C than an actual wave 1 part of an even larger wave 3 to the upside. It would not be a reliable structure in the end, that is the bottom line. Now, this has still been a great opportunity because we have identified a potential double 1-2-1-2 setup. Now, even though the sentiment has changed after extending to higher prices within our expectations, we still identified a high quality structure which has delivered after reaching the first level of support. So I wanted to briefly mention our channel newsletter where we identify for you high quality structures, which you can then follow along with us on YouTube. And we have just sent out our first list, our first trade setup approved watch list today, and I wanted to let you know that anyone who subscribes by the 8th of March will still receive this update. Now, we don't want to keep sending them in perpetuity because this has been an analysis that has been done now, that has these structures available now. As we get more developments over the next week, it might change and it's not something I want to maintain actively. We will of course be sending out future lists as well that will contain any high quality structure we have identified over the month's period. So if you want to join, the link for sign up is in the description and it is completely free. You should receive the list as soon as you confirm your email subscription. Yeah, you should have a detailed view of everything we are tracking for these stocks or these assets. Now, getting back to the chart, here we are looking right now still at a potential 1-2 setup, but unfortunately, we do not have a 5-wave pattern to consider this a high probability structure. And not only that, but we have pushed quite deep, even below our 78.6% retracement, which is not necessarily a good sign. Now, sure, I could allow the 88.7% retracement to come on here as well, but it's not going to be the highest quality structure for me. And maybe if we identify an initial 5-wave move to the upside within a wave A in this area, it could turn more interesting, but at this point there is still a lot of pressure to continue to lower prices. Now, the positive side of this is that we do not have a clear 5-wave pattern to the downside either. This is not suggesting with high probabilities that we will continue within this wave C that we are tracking in this orange interpretation to lower prices, because once again, even here we would be tracking a 1-2 setup. Yeah, we would need to build a 5-wave pattern even without it being an actual impulse. So I would have here a 1, 2, 3, 4 and a 5. And this allows me to track an internal area of resistance for such an expectation, mainly focusing on the levels up to the 78.6% retracement, so we are talking about the 68.5k level. Now, we will still leave this area of resistance in the background, but let's track it perhaps within a different scenario so it doesn't overlap in colors with what we have here in the orange structure, in which we are focused on the idea of an ending diagonal. And yeah, I suppose green works a little bit better. Now, on top of that, in the green interpretation, since we have already formed a peak above the last level of resistance, we could, I suppose, watch for the resistance area for a potential triangle formation in this overall wave 4. Not necessarily a scenario I focus on a lot. Beyond this, a break above the 68.5k level would already be strongly suggesting to me that we would see the break above the swing high we have formed most recently here around the 25th, 26th of February. Now, you can take a picture for the larger time frame areas of resistance and areas of support. We can even hide this green structure briefly to allow more clearly the levels that we are focusing on. Beyond that, the area of support in yellow still stands, but it's not very significant. I wouldn't focus on it too much. So yeah, you can take a picture because I want to go within a smaller time frame to provide a more detailed view of what is going on internally, and we will not have these on the chart after this. So yeah. Now, in this movement to the upside, I'm looking for a potential wave 3. Now, this would be expected to build an ABC structure, so I would have an internal area of support that I could be tracking for such an expectation. Although I would be open to see an extension within this wave A before looking for a more substantial top to be in place. At this point, I would probably prefer it to form within the idea of a leading diagonal, since I do not have a very clear impulse formation in this area. I mean, sure, we could maybe work it out, but it's not going to be a high probability structure in my opinion. So for those reasons, I do prefer that we might see a leading diagonal formation. I have to say it is theoretically possible to consider a count to be full within this structure, although in my preferred interpretation of this, I would like to see another high to consider this a more clearly complete 5-wave pattern within this wave A. So for that, I would be tracking the area of support for continuation directly to higher prices at the levels between the 23.6% retracement, so the 67k level, all the way down to the 65.2k level. So far, we have formed only a 3-wave pattern into the 38.2% retracement, which is the ideal target for an internal wave 4. And yeah, I could very easily see another high within this area, which would allow me to identify an initial 5-wave move to the upside, which would in turn allow me to look for a higher probability A, B, C structure to be forming within this area. Now, could there be something more bullish going on? Definitely, although I don't necessarily find it a high probability to form a 5-wave move to the upside within a wave A, and then a wave B and another wave to the upside in a wave C within this larger wave 3. It would be quite out of proportions, and I cannot rule that out, but it's not something I find highly probable. So yeah, for me personally, the focus remains on this idea of an ABC pattern. Now, for the idea of an extension in a wave 5, in this area within this wave A, I am watching the 61.8% retracement. But the last level of support for me that I would focus on, for even the idea that maybe this wave A would already work out as a 5-wave pattern, would be the 64.1k level at the 78.6% retracement. And for now, I wouldn't focus on more than this. I believe these are all the details we need, and in the case of this interpretation, we can notice that we have actually touched, even within a supposed wave B in this area, the first level of support. Yeah, it has fulfilled the minimum expectations, and yeah, we are waiting for the next developments. If we get only a small extension here within a wave 5, I would be looking still for a wave B correction and an extension afterwards in a wave C. If we get a stronger extension to the upside, I would be looking for the wave C to already be unfolding. But for now, these are the levels, this is the trade setup. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, don't forget to leave a like, don't forget to subscribe, and if you enjoy our content and you want to support us, you can even check out our channel membership, where you even get access to a couple of cool perks, including additional content. But other than that, let me know what else you would like me to cover, and I'll do my best to do that in the days and weeks ahead. And until then, I hope you have a nice day, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.